Hello! Today I bring you to visit the Indian Heritage Museum in Singapore. Together we'll explore Singapore's Indian heritage and visit this less known museum. The museum is located in Little India in an area steeped in Indian culture. Follow me as I try to visit every museum in Singapore. I'll try my best. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification button so you can come along as I give you a tour of each museum. The museum was actually located about 5 minutes walk from Rochor Station, but it is also walkable from Little India train station. I went on a Sunday, which is the day where Little India is most alive and busiest. It is the day most migrant workers from India have a rest day. Little India is a home to a large variety of Indian restaurants, food and home goods shops. And of course, my favorite giant 24-hour store, Mustafa, which I spend many hours at. I might do a video on that another time. You'll also see a lot of tourists in the area as well. Currently, about 9% of Singaporeans are of Indian race. This museum and cultural centre is one that most Singaporeans don't know about and have never been to. This was actually my first time there, and most people I spoke to about it had no idea of its existence. But I guess, that's the point of me doing these videos. It's also for me to explore these places that I've never been to. By chance, I found out they were holding a festival at the Centre for the Indian New Year, which is celebrated amongst many in the Indian sub-ethnic communities in Singapore. I had no idea that this festival was going on and was taking place, so I just felt really fortunate to be able to catch some of the dancing and activities that were going on. There were a few live performances, workshops and crafting activities, and I guess it just goes to show that you never really know everything that's going on in Singapore, so sometimes it's good to get out there and explore. I really enjoyed this huge grand entrance that really has the architectural motif of a lot of Indian homes. And here we'll see an area where there were a bunch of activities that you could do for free. Here children are playing with different grains of rice, and it illustrated to them the different rice that are grown in India. And here you'll also see Potli bag making activity. So Potli bags are traditional Indian drawstring pouches, primarily used as stylish accessories for weddings, festivals and parties. They have been part of Indian history since Vedic times, historically used in Ayurveda to carry medicinal herbs and later as luxury decorated items in the medieval era. Today, they are a popular accessory to carry to weddings. And here you'll see them sponging on paint onto these Potli bags, and this was a free activity. Here you'll also see hanging bell making activities. Hanging bells are actually spiritually symbolic in Indian culture. They welcome the divine and purify the mind. The bell's dome represents infinity. The resonance of the bell is actually meant to create the sound of Om, symbolizing the initial sound of creation. And I think we're all familiar with Om chanting, and maybe you've even done that in some yoga classes. Entrance to the Indian Cultural Centre is free for citizens and permanent residents, but there is a fee for foreigners, and I will leave a link in the description below to their website so you can see the details for themselves. There wasn't really a gift shop here, but they did have a small area of goods, which included some books and postcards, but it was quite minimal. I think this place is important as it helps highlight the place of Indian culture in Singapore society. Singapore is a multicultural society. About 9% of Singaporeans are Indian. This centre opened in 2015 and has 4 floors, 2 of which have exhibits. I started doing this series as a means to explore places I've never been, but also to record them for posterity and for anyone around the world who wants to see these places for themselves. Also to help people get an idea of places they might want to visit in the future. I realized there were very few videos chronicling some of these less known museums in Singapore, and some maybe not at all, other than the videos produced by the museums themselves. So I thought it was really good to capture this for anyone who wanted to view them. Here, there was actually a little market that was part of the festival, and there were lots of home goods, jewelry, clothing, all from the Indian culture. And it surprised me that this was even taking place because, again, I had no idea. This is a little home goods store that someone was selling cakes and muffins that they baked themselves. So this is I think the third floor. Yeah, I think it's the third floor. And this was a gallery that highlights notable Indians in Singapore who have contributed enormously to society, along with items that belong to them. And there was an area where you could sit and watch videos. One of the most notable Singaporean Indians is, of course, S.R. Nathan, who held 2 terms as president of Singapore till 2011. He had a tough childhood in a financially unstable home, and his father was a lawyer who fell into hard times. Here you'll see the photos of him, Dr. Tony Tan, and other politicians. S.R. Nathan also worked as a translator during the Japanese occupation of Singapore. He was Singapore's longest-serving president for a grand total of 12 years. So this area, you'll see lots of notable Singaporeans, including judges, a UN ambassador, and pastors, priests, as well as military officials, and items that belong to them. So, of course, we've had notable Indians in every industry throughout time in Singapore. And here we have a beautiful montage capturing images of them and their community and different ways they contributed to Singapore. Like I said, there was an area where you could sit and watch videos of their speeches, performances, and whatever they excelled at. There's plenty to look at, and there was descriptions about each of the people and the items that belong to them. So this is a museum that takes roughly, I would say, the average person maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes to view, because the exhibitions are only on 2 floors. And I think it's really worth to come and explore this museum because it really gives you an idea of how multi-ethnic a society Singapore is. You'll also see quite a lot of artifacts from Singapore's colonial past, because a lot of Indians had come over during that period where the British did bring them in to work in the service industry. Here you'll also see lots of photographs chronicling the communities at the time. There's also a little kids interactive area which highlights certain trades Indians used to run, and some of these are still present today. As you can see, they had a lot of fun activities that kids could do. They could open these windows and it would tell you a little more. You also see a spice merchant who sells mixed spices in the pre-supermarket era. I also recently saw a video that there are still a few rare spice sellers around who sell their own original mixes of spices for whatever dish you can tell them. So they mix it up on the spot for you. You tell them, for example, I want to make a fish curry, and they will mix up a spice mix for you. This is the other area of the gallery, and here you'll see more artifacts, but I really like this stunning painting of trades and jobs of Indians in Singapore have had. You'll see Dhobis, which were washermen. Some of them would even go to your house to pick up your laundry. They first came to Singapore in the 1890s, brought to Singapore by the British to provide services to the British stationed here. There's a train station, of course, as Singaporeans know, called Dhobi Ghat, which is named after the Dhobis who used to wash laundry in a stream in that area. In historical photos, you will see the fields covered in laundry lines of linen left out to dry in the sun. Ghat is derived from the Hindi word ghat, which refers to the flight of steps leading down to the river, hence the name Dhobi Ghat. So here you'll see a uniform of the Sikh community, which actually used to work a lot in policing. So Indian officers, particularly from the Sikh community, played a vital role in the Singapore police force during the British colonial era. The British regarded Sikh officers as towering and more loyal, and used their presence as an effective deterrent against crime. Recruits had to be at least 175 centimeters tall and were sometimes tasked with guarding key infrastructure in the Strait settlements. The lower and upper barracks in Pearl's Hill were actually specifically constructed to house Sikhs and their families. So now Pearl's Hill is a very trendy, sort of artsy place with a lot of workshops, and I've actually even held events there. But originally it was constructed for Sikh policemen. So this building was actually built in 2015, and you can see the amazing view from the inside from the second to third floor. The architecture was inspired by Baoli's, and you'll see the image here, which are these incredible step wells that look right out of a MC Escher drawing. They also function as a gathering space for the community and is symbolic of what this place intends to be. In a way, the view from the gallery sort of turns Little India itself as part of the exhibit, which I think is really quite an artistic thing to do. And as you sit here and watch, you can see how Indian culture in Singapore is a living culture that continues to inform the present. You can see from the views here the minutiae of everyday life and the rhythm that Little India beats to. This viewing area was a pleasant surprise, and I was blown away by the bird's eye views you get from here. Again, I wish more people knew about this spot. This building is actually so cool. So now we're here onto the fourth floor, and there was a little map that showed the historically Indian areas of Singapore, one of which was Serangoon Road, which actually used to have a northern harbour, and I didn't even know this. In the late 1820s, Serangoon actually had a lot of lime pits, which employed many Indians to create construction materials. And I think the lime is not referring to the fruit lime, but of course the material lime. There was also Ceylon Road that is named after the large Ceylonese Tamil community that lived around the area, and the large Hindu temple there originates from there was a shrine there in the 1850s. And here you also see saris, and I actually have fond memories of being in primary school and having my English teacher wear saris every day, and you much rarely see that in Singapore today. I think in the 90s and the early 2000s, you still had a lot of Indian women who wore saris to work. And here you also see an image of one of the most important Hindu festivals in Singapore called Thaipusam, which devotees carry out physical sacrifice by carrying heavy pots of cow milk, or more ironically, large structures that pierce into their skin as a means of ceremonial repentance. They then walk down a 3 to 4 kilometer path along Little India from one path to another. This section of the gallery covers a lot of religions of the Indian diaspora, which includes Buddhism and Hinduism. Of course, Hinduism is a religion that has many manifestations of gods. You'll see here some of the more common ones, such as Vishnu, Ganesha, and Lakshmi. Actually, funny enough, I recently read some excerpts of the famous Hindu text, holy text, Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I'm probably saying that wrong. Which is actually set. The story is set on a battlefield of one of the warriors' conflicted feelings of engaging in a battle when Krishna comes and engages with him in a dialogue and discussion on what he should do. I think the text is also really interesting since many famous physicists were also deeply inspired by the text, such as Oppenheimer and Schrödinger. And Hinduism is an interesting example of a religion that has a non-dualistic aspect to it. And so we're actually coming to the conclusion of the gallery area, and I was about to go down this lift when I stumbled upon this small gallery here of actually pottery shards they had unearthed when they built this building itself. So you'll see again these very iconic blue and white pottery, and if you want to know more, I have a part of it in my maritime video where they also had uncovered a shipwreck. But a lot of these potteries have actually come from Qingdezhen in China. Again, I apologize for all the Tamil and Chinese names and everything. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. But it's just really cool in Singapore how there's just all this crossover of cultures in different areas. So overall, the Indian Heritage Centre is a delightful visit that chronicles the indelible mark Indians and Indian culture has left in Singapore. It's right in the heart of Little India and is easy to get to. The building has a really amazing view from the inside, and there are plenty of artifacts to look like. Again, I would say it would take the average person about 45 minutes here. And it reminds us that Indian culture is still alive in Singapore today. The Indian Cultural Centre is a tangible gallery of that. And if you come and visit, I would encourage you to walk around the streets and enjoy the surrounding area, including visiting Tekka and Mustafa Centre. Overall, I hope you enjoyed this tour. Like and subscribe and click the notification bell to see my next videos. See you soon. Bye.